PH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and believe it or not, we got some more spoilers to talk about here. I think the bigger issue is what the heck is going on at Wizards of the Coast. I mean, we had Dominaria United come out, massive, huge set, and then I think we had a week off, and then it was the Warhammer spoilers for the Warhammer 40k Commander decks that immediately came out after that. And I guess if you're not a Commander player, which maybe there are still Magic players out there that don't play Commander, but even other legacy formats, right? There are a lot of legal cards there. So we had that, and then I think maybe we had 2 or 3 days off, and then they started spoiling the Infinity cards. And I realized the schedule was a little screwed up because of, you know, the pandemic and all that. But I mean, still, why all this stuff is on top of each other, I'm not sure. It's a bit much. I mean, it's not a bit much. It's a whole bunch too much, I think. And so we had the Infinity stuff come out. And then as soon as that was finished being spoiled, they had, I believe the very next day, they dropped the game night deck lists, right? So there are these, game night decks. I believe there's 5 of them. There's one monocolor for each deck, and they are, pretty much all reprints, but the commanders are new. I already talked about that, thankfully, because one of my patrons had actually found the leaks, like a month ago or 2 months ago, maybe now. So I already talked about those guys, so at least I don't have to cover that. They are new commanders in the format on top of all the other commanders that we are getting. So they dropped that the very next day, and then immediately after that, now they're already starting to spoil the Brothers War set, which is coming out. I believe it's being released in November. I mean, I guess it is October already. Everything's moving so quickly here. So they're already starting to spoil that set, so I got to talk about those cards. And they also released, by the way, the Transformer cards. Whoever hasn't seen those yet, they dropped all those on us, which I believe are coming out in the Brothers War. They are Universes Beyond cards. I don't know if they're going to actually reskin them at all. But, whether or not they are or not, they are still going to be Commander legal cards that you can play as your commanders. There are, I believe there's 15 of them. I just talked about them on my Patreon. I'm not going to cover them on my channel. It's just too much. There's too much to talk about here. So I did a Patreon video. So if you want to join my Patreon to hear me talk about those cards, I'm actually a huge Transformers fan. Watched the cartoon like crazy when I was a kid. So there is a lot of nostalgia there for me, which is great. It is fun. And if you are a Transformers fan as well, that kind of stuff is great. Just like if you're a huge Warhammer 40k fan, I'm sure you're excited about all those cards. But man, doing this all at once like this is so much. Like, it's literal nonstop spoiler season for like the last 2 months here. So I don't know what's actually going on here, but nevertheless, I do have to talk about some of these cards. They are very impactful, and they are so very important, right? In the whole game of Magic, the Brothers War is sort of the original storyline in Magic. Of course, Urza and Mishra being 2 of the most iconic characters in the game, and those are the cards I'm going to talk about today, all right? So let's take a look. So we have Urza, Lord Protector, 1 white and a blue human artificer, 2/4. Artifacts, instants, and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. A lot you can do with that. I mean, there's a whole lot you can do with that. Obviously, you can do artifact, tribal, instant, and sorcery. That covers a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of directions you can go there. Pay 7 mana if you both own and control Urza, Lord Protector, and an artifact named the Might Stone and the Weak Stone. Exile them, then meld them into Urza Planeswalker. Activate only as a sorcery. It's funny. The really interesting thing about this is there's already a card called the Might Stone, right? Which came out, of course, long time ago. I believe it gives attacking creatures +1/+0. And then there's also a card called the Weak Stone, which gives, I'm pretty sure it gives attacking creatures -1/-0. Really old cards. So those cards already existed. So, obviously that doesn't work here, though. I think it would be funny if you could do that as well, right? Have those 2 cards in play. But the card, there actually is one card that now they have reprinted that they were referring to called the Might Stone and the Weak Stone. So it's combining those two. 5 mana legendary artifact Power Stone, which is interesting. When the Might Stone and Weak Stone enters the battlefield, choose one, draw 2 cards, or target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. And then you can tap it to add 2 colorless. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So you can only use it to cast artifact spells. So this is a, can you put this in any deck? I don't know. I mean, it enters the battlefield, you can either draw 2 cards or you can give a creature -5/-5. Might fit good in a Brago deck because, of course, you can reuse it over and over and again, getting that ETB. Those are 2 great abilities that you're always gonna want to do in a commander game, obviously. -5/-5 will kill a whole lot of creatures. Drawing 2 cards is always good. Adding 2 colorless is always good too, but this mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells, so you can only use it to cast artifacts, obviously. So probably want to use it more so in an artifact theme, I think. More importantly, if you're playing this commander, the Urza, you're going to need it. It's obviously something that you're going to want because you're going to want to meld your commander, right? And when you do, it turns into Urza Planeswalker. That's kind of a big deal, right? So it is, of course, a legendary Planeswalker, Urza. It has 7 loyalty. And you may activate the loyalty abilities of Urza Planeswalker twice each turn rather than only once. So there's something we haven't seen before. We've seen the activating it on other people's turns, but this is activating it twice on your turn. So that means you can activate, obviously, any of the loyalty abilities. So you can immediately +2 it, which will give you artifact, instant, and sorcery spells you cast. This turn costs 2 less to cast. You gain 2 life. So it's playing into the same ability you already have on the front, obviously. That's going to give you 9. The ultimate is 10, so you're not quite there yet, but you're obviously going to be able to get to the ultimate very, very quickly here. You can +1 it to draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Again, something you're always going to want to do. You can 0 it to create 2 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens. So they're artifact tokens, but they are soldiers. You can -3 to exile target non-land permanent, and you can -10 artifacts and planeswalkers you control gain indestructible until end of turn, destroy all non-land permanents. So when I first saw this, my first thinking was, this can be the commander for any deck. Like you could do there's 1,000 different directions you can take with this. Again, the front is, I can do any artifact, instant, or sorcery theme here, right? So obviously the back is even more so. The first ability, again, the first loyalty ability is playing into what you're doing on the front. Also, you're gaining life, so now you're throwing the life gain theme in there as well. I don't know if you want to build around that, but you could very easily throw Well of Lost Dreams in here and draw 2 cards when you gain the 2 life. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. I mean, so now you're in you can loot, throw stuff in your graveyard if you want to. You're in the card drawing theme as well. Creating those tokens, so now you're in a token theme. You're also in a soldier tribal theme. You're in an artifact creature token theme as well. You're in an artifact creature theme. You can do all that, right? You can immediately flip this guy over and then 0 him twice, right? So you can immediately create 4 soldier artifact creature tokens with this guy. So it is very easy to build around that ability. Exile target non-land permanent. I mean, there's something you want to do in every single game always. So, right, there's nothing to build around there. It fits in every deck. And the last ability, artifacts and planeswalkers you control gain indestructible into turn. So now you want to do the artifact theme. I guess the artifact theme is the only thing that is really sort of going throughout here. But again, you can make a Super Friends deck here because you can make your planeswalkers indestructible and then destroy all other non-land permanents, which is fantastic. There is, I'm looking at this and I'm just thinking, you could do just about anything with this guy. This feels like an Atraxa on steroids or a Muldrotha on steroids, where it's doing so many things that you can do. We're going to see a lot of Urza decks for sure. I mean, he's an iconic character, obviously, on top of the fact that he's pretty fantastic as a commander. But he's doing so much that you can do an artifact tribal here. That's the obvious one. You can do the Spellslinger theme as well, because reducing your cost by 2 is fantastic. Looting is always good. Creating tokens, so now I can do that theme. If I have an Anointed Procession in this deck, now I'm going to be creating an absolute, right? If I have an Anointed Procession, I zero this guy twice because, of course, I can activate his abilities twice. Now I'm creating 4 and then another 4. So I'm creating 8 soldier tokens. So now you can very easily do a soldier tribal deck with this guy. And again, exiling permanence is always good. And that last ability maybe leans more towards a Planeswalker, Super Friends theme. There's just an absolute ton you can do with this commander. An absolute ton. This is going to be a popular commander in the format for sure. On top of the fact that, people who might want to play Planeswalkers as your commander, it's a fantastic fit there. So there's just so much. This guy is so open-ended, which is good, I guess. But he's so open-ended that there's just 100 different themes that you can do with this deck, which is going to play into the fact that it's going to be a very popular commander. On top of the fact that it is, this really iconic character. So, wow, it's going to be a popular one for sure. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Mishra, claimed by Gix. 2 black and a red, Phyrexian Human Artificer, 3/5. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life. So that's pretty good. Where X is the number of attacking creatures. So we again, I have a feeling we're going to be similar in where we're just doing so many different themes on one card here, right? So now I'm an attacking theme. I want to attack with lots of creatures. If I attack with 5 creatures, each opponent loses 5 life and I gain 5 life. Pretty darn good, right? And this is whenever you attack, you don't have to attack with your commander here. If Mishra, claimed by Gix, and a creature named Phyrexian Dragon Engine are attacking, and you both own and control them, okay, so that means you can't steal it from your opponent and attack with it, exile them and meld them into Mishra, lost to Phyrexia. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. Oh boy. So let's first look at Phyrexian Dragon Engine. 3 mana. Artifact creature, Phyrexian Dragon 2/2. Has double strike. When Phyrexian Dragon Engine enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. And has unearth 3 red. So obviously it's an artifact creature, but it's got those red pips, so you can only play it in a red deck. Evaluating this card on its own, not bad. I mean, it's a 3 mana 2/2 double strike creature. It is a dragon, so it might fit in some of those dragon tribal decks. When it enters from your graveyard, you get to draw 3 cards if you discard your hand. That could be good. Not bad. Obviously, unearthing works there. Can this fit in maybe some non-Mishra decks? Maybe. Entering from your graveyard means you don't have to use the unearth. You can just use any recursion, so that'll work there as well. But of course, you're most likely going to be playing it in this deck with your Mishra. And when you meld them, it becomes Mishra, lost to Phyrexia. Legendary artifact creature, Phyrexian Artificer 9/9. That's pretty good. When Mishra, lost to Phyrexia, enters the battlefield or attacks, choose 3. And of course, the attack trigger is going to be only when you attack, not if it's already attacking. However, when you meld them, you are exiling them and then returning them to the battlefield. So that is going to get you that ETB trigger. And you're going to choose 3 of these. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Mishra deals 3 damage to any target. Destroy target artifact or planeswalker. Creatures you control gain menace and trample until end of turn. Creatures you don't control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Create 2 tapped Power Stone tokens. Wow. So again, as I suspected, there's so much going on here. Again, this can be the commander for any deck pretty much. I mean, the only stipulation is I want to be attacking with creatures. That's it. Obviously you want to get your hands on that Dragon Engine. That's the only way you can meld this. That is the sort of the stipulation here with both of these is I can only meld them or transform them if I have that one other piece. So that is holding them back quite a bit. You're in black, so tutoring isn't going to be a big deal here. You're going to want to do that because this backside is phenomenal. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Again, that's always good. You can build around that. If you want to do the discard theme, you can do that. Dealing 3 damage to any target is always good. Destroy an artifact or planeswalker, always good. Creatures you control gain menace and trample. Obviously, if you're in an attacking theme, that's fantastic. Creatures you don't control get minus. Like, these are all always good, always usable, fantastic abilities that you're always going to want to be doing. You don't have to build around it at all. So all you have to build around is I get my Phyrexian Dragon Engine so that I can meld this guy and flip him over. Right? So, whew, yeah, both of these guys are really, really fantastic on the backside and also very open-ended. Right. And I understand that it is going to be a little, you're going to have some hoops to jump through here where you're going to have to get your hands on that artifact in order to flip them, which is good. That's going to make it, a little bit more difficult because the backsides are so great here. But as a build around, like the Mishra as a build around, I'm going to think to myself, okay, well, I do want to use that attacking ability as much as I can because maybe it's going to take me a while to get my hands on that Phyrexian Dragon Engine, and it also has to be attacking, right? Mishra has to be attacking and your Dragon Engine has to be attacking at the same time in order to meld. So I do want to build around that attacking ability, but then once I flip it over, all that stuff is fantastic. Nothing you really need to build around there. You can if you want to. You can do a discard theme or something if you want. The Urza, same thing. I guess I will do an artifact or instant or sorcery theme, and then when I get my hands on that Might Stone, Weak Stone, again, which... you're going to want to put your Fabricates and your Enlightened Tutors and all that in here as well so you can get your hands on it. Search for Glory, which I just talked about in my 5 cards video, which is going to work. Again, that goes and gets legendary cards. So that's another great tutor option for you to go get the Might Stone and the Weak Stone, right? Yeah, these guys are going to be popular for sure. Really powerful abilities on the back. They're going to be popular commanders in the format, I think, for sure. We already are getting Brothers War. Wow. I mean... We'll say I feel a little overwhelmed. I love talking about Magic cards, though. So at the same time, it's like I really can't complain because I do love looking at new Magic cards and talking about them. So it's not bad. As a player, though, I'm thinking, okay, there are Dominaria United commanders that I found very interesting that I kind of want to build around that I'm already forgetting about. That I'm already like, wasn't there a commander from Dominaria United that I really liked that I was thinking of building a deck with? And we've gone from, Warhammer, where there are interesting cards I want, to Infinity, where there might actually be some cards that I might want, to now we're already into the Brothers War. Oh, man. So much. I really am kind of hoping they take a break after the Brothers War stuff, because this is really getting to be a bit much. Anyway... Thought I would make a video about these ones. I don't know how quickly the spoilers are going to come out for this set. Maybe they just decided to do Urza and Mishra right out of the gate because obviously that is what the set is all about. Maybe I'm kind of hoping we get a little bit of a break before we officially get into all the spoilers from this set because, again, I imagine this is going to be a very impactful set for the Commander format, so there's going to be a lot to talk about. I guess we'll see, but that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.